Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the latest data from the American Heart Association to dismantle some incredibly dangerous misconceptions about cardiovascular disease. You know, we've all heard the old wives' tales and common wisdom regarding our hearts, but the science? Well, it tells a very different story, and knowing the difference could literally save your life.
Look, you might assume heart issues only happen to your elderly neighbor, or maybe that uncle who loves a little too much fried food at family gatherings. But relying on those false assumptions, that can be deadly. The truth is, cardiovascular disease kills more adults in the US each year than any other disease, and it definitely does not discriminate the way we often think it does.
Actually, the data is pretty staggering. Nearly half of all U.S. adults over age 20 currently have some form of cardiovascular disease. Half! Think about that for a second. If you look to your left and look to your right, statistics suggest that either you or someone near you is actively living with this condition right now. So yeah, it's absolutely not just a senior citizen issue.
Okay, so we're going to unravel this medical mystery across 4 key pillars: who actually gets heart disease, spotting the silent killers, recognizing real cardiac emergencies, and finally, taking back your control.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Who Gets Heart Disease? Age and Genetics.
So the absolutely crucial point we need to get straight here is that how you live right now affects you later. The myth that you're too young to worry is totally false. Why? Because plaque can start building up in your arteries as early as childhood and adolescence. The structural foundation for clogged arteries doesn't just magically appear on your 65th birthday, it's a lifelong process.
And because of this early start, young and middle-aged people are actually developing heart problems at significantly higher rates today. This is happening specifically because risk factors like obesity and type 2 diabetes are becoming so common much earlier in life. The timeline for cardiovascular disease is accelerating, which means our awareness needs to accelerate too.
This brings us to the whole myth of genetic destiny. Even if you have a family history of heart disease staring you right in the face, your genetics are not an absolute fate. By taking active steps, which we're definitely going to outline later in this explainer, you can dramatically reduce your risk. You have far more power over your genetic predispositions than you might think.
Moving right along to Section 2, Spotting the Silent Killers: Blood Pressure, Cholesterol, and Leg Pain.
Probably the biggest misconception out there is that high blood pressure comes with an obvious warning sign, like a severe headache, a red face, or feeling super tense. In reality, it's called the silent killer, precisely because you usually have absolutely no idea you have it. You literally cannot wait for your body to alert you. The only way to know if your blood pressure is high is to check your numbers with a simple test, ideally before it causes a catastrophic stroke or permanent kidney damage.
And hey, the exact same goes for your cholesterol. Please, don't wait until you're middle-aged to start caring about this. Tracking these traditional risk factors early on allows doctors to estimate your lifetime risk of cardiovascular disease. Actually, the American Heart Association recommends that after age 20, you should be checking these numbers every 4 to 6 years.
Now, pay really close attention to this number. If you're a young adult with moderately high LDL, that's the bad cholesterol, falling in the specific range of 160 to 189 milligrams per deciliter, you might already be a candidate for cholesterol-lowering drugs. Getting this checked early gives you a massive head start on prevention. So what about the physical symptoms that we wrongly dismiss? You know that aching muscle pain in your legs? Well, it might not just be from getting older or from walking up too many stairs. It can actually be a vital warning sign that has everything to do with your heart health.
This specific symptom is known as peripheral artery disease, or PAD. Think of it essentially as a plumbing issue in your legs caused by plaque buildup. If your leg arteries are clogged, it serves as a major red flag that the arteries to your heart and brain might be clogged too, which significantly increases your risk for a future cardiovascular emergency.
Okay, Section 3, Recognizing Real Cardiac Emergencies: Heart Attacks, Failure, and Arrhythmia. Let's clear up some dangerous confusion here.
While severe chest discomfort is really common, relying solely on that dramatic, movie-style chest clutching can literally be fatal. The actual warning signs of a heart attack can be incredibly subtle. They're often completely misunderstood, which leads people to delay getting the urgent help they desperately need.
You really need to look out for subtle symptoms like shortness of breath, feeling nauseous, getting lightheaded, or even just an unexplainable pain in your arm, jaw, neck, or back.
Listen, if you experience any of these subtle symptoms, even if you aren't perfectly sure it's a heart attack, do not wait around. You need to call 911 immediately. Better safe than sorry, right?
Now, another absolutely crucial point is understanding the terminology we use. Heart failure sounds like the heart just quits entirely, doesn't it? But that's a huge myth. With heart failure, the heart actually keeps working, but it has a mechanical pumping issue. It just doesn't pump blood as well as it should. This leads to fluid buildup, causing things like swelling in your feet and persistent coughing.
In stark contrast, cardiac arrest is an electrical issue where the heartbeat suddenly stops entirely. This is an immediate, catastrophic emergency where the person loses consciousness and stops breathing normally. Knowing the difference between a pumping issue and a sudden electrical failure is super vital for understanding the right treatment.
One last point to remember in this section: a fast heartbeat doesn't automatically equal a heart attack. While your heart naturally speeds up during exercise or when you're excited, an unexplained change in your heartbeat can sometimes be an arrhythmia. This is basically just an irregular beat. While some of them are totally harmless, others definitely require medical treatment to ensure your heart continues working efficiently.
Finally, Section 4. Taking back your control, managing risk and living healthier. This is where we step up and take action.
First off, we've got to look at the whole picture. A major myth out there is that if you take your diabetes medication, your heart is perfectly safe. The hard fact is, even if your blood sugar is perfectly controlled by medication, overlapping risk factors like carrying excess weight, physical inactivity, and smoking mean your heart is still highly vulnerable. Medication is a really helpful tool, but it is not a total impenetrable shield.
And what if you've already had a heart event? Well, many people think you should just rest up and avoid exercise completely after a heart attack. Wrong. Research clearly shows that survivors who get active with a doctor-approved plan actually live much longer than those who stay sedentary on the couch. Your heart is a muscle, after all. It needs safe, guided rehabilitation.
So here is your concrete, step-by-step action plan directly from the American Heart Association. Ready? You want to aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity every week. You need to proactively control your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your blood pressure, and your weight. Stop smoking. Just stop. And crucially, don't ignore the massive impact of managing your stress and getting quality sleep. This action plan right here is your roadmap to dramatically reducing your risk. So, now that you have all the facts, you're armed with the exact knowledge needed to make a real difference. The big question is, will you let outdated myths dictate your destiny, or will you use the knowledge from this explainer to finally take the wheel? Share this information, go check your numbers, and take control of your heart today. Think about it. Who in your life needs to hear this right now?